You see what's happening in the world. War between Russia and this one. Americans are doing this. How will Africa defend itself? If we have got economic integration, it can help with the economy. But how about defense? How do we defend ourselves? The Americans are now saying they want to be superior in land forces, on land. They want to be superior in the air force. They want to be superior at sea, navy. They want to be superior in space. And they have all been to the moon. The Americans have been to the moon, the Russians, the Chinese, the Indians have now gone. You fellows, you are here on Earth. Those fellows are on the moon, looking at you like insects. I don't like to be in that situation. That's why I say, you people, why don't you see how to unite? Because Uganda, even if you wanted to build a navy, how can you build it? We don't have access to the sea. The political organization in Africa is so irrational. Some of the countries have no access to the sea. For economic purposes, but also for defense purposes, you are stuck. How do I export my products? That's why we have got endless discussion with Kenya, then this one stops, then another one comes, then the railway, the pipeline, the what, we discuss. But that ocean belongs to me. Because where is my ocean? I am entitled to that ocean. In future, we are going to have wars. In the future, we're going to have wars. How can you say that you are in a block of flats, that the compound belongs to only the flats on the ground floor, that the compound belongs to the whole block?
Welcome to yet another edition of Mosan Media. Olunaku olwaleero tuli wano ku Mount Elgon Hotel. Mount Elgon Hotel eno is located on Masaba Road. Along that road oluva ku Republic Street, Court, then to Moni. Mwabagala kyebayita hotel service. Tolonza Mount Elgon Hotel is the big deal, the real deal. Osobola ogenda n'ofuna buli kimu kye weetaaga okuva mu hotel. Today is a special day that I'm hosting someone who has sat before so many cameras, who has sat before very many people, and things like that. He's a special person. He's a colleague in the field of work. He was once my colleague at my former workplace, but still we are colleagues in our field of work. Today I'm hosting Javier. You know, I think I'm the only person here in this region, and I think across the country, who pronounces his name rightly. Javier Silas. Most of the people say Javier. No, the name is not Javier. It is Javier. So, mabagezako okulionona, please watch out. Well, it's the man I'm having today, and the reason why I'm having him today is very simple. Mwena mwabulide ekigambo Indian Ocean yafe, and people have redrawn Uganda's map and they have somewhat tried to include Indian Ocean on our map, and yes, here we are. We now have Uganda port at Indian Ocean. That's why they say anything can change. So Uganda is here after over 60 years of independence, having Indian Ocean. So the reason that's why I'm having him today is he was the man behind that press conference. He was the moderator of the evening where we hosted the big man. Jukira tuli mu campaigns, presidential campaigns n'abalala. Era the word Indian Ocean came into the ears of people. Oluvannyuma lwa president okuba nti yasinkanye bannamawulire wano mu Bugisu after his tour of Bugisu sub-region, yes. Remember, the region jagenda mbu abamaliza region eyo ng'ebula district ng'emu olukiiko lw'abannamawulire kyetuta press conference okubabuliramu how the region is progressing, what he has done for the region and the government, and what is the region still demanding from the government, or what role should the region play to ensure transformation and prosperity of the region and the country at large. So olunaku we twamulina mu Bugisu, he's the man who was behind the microphone ng'ayokya ebibuuzo headmaster w'eggwanga lino His Excellency Yoweri Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda. Era ng'ensonga lwaki we having him tonight, this evening, twagala atubuulire right from the beginning, how was the experience hosting the big man, because a few people who are still active in journalism have hosted the big man one-on-one. A few people.
Yeah.
Abasinga tukoma mu field ng'ayogera ne tugenda tula yonna gye tukolera editing, abasinga batono nnyo I think I've hosted him, and he was among the lucky people who have hosted him. Era njagala atuyisizeemu real quick afuna atya akagigi ako byali mugamba n'ogu oba it was kisima oba mwali mukola application. So it's what we're going to discuss tonight. So Javier, welcome to Mosan Media.
I'm so grateful and humbled to be at Mosan Media, and particularly to be hosted by you and your producer, the people I have seen grow in this industry.
Thank you very much.
Particularly, there is one thing that you didn't mention. You mentioned me being your former colleague at SBC.
Yes.
That there's no crime mentioning that.
Definitely.
At SBC. But there is one thing that I remember very well. The fact that we picked you when you were still at your high school, senior 6, and we started mentoring you at that level, and seeing you grow today, it's a pleasure. You know, as a senior, you feel like, wow, that is nice. You know, no one wants to invest themselves in mentoring someone who doesn't go anywhere. So definitely. I'm very humbled every time I watch your production at Mosan Media. I'm so humbled to see you people, you know, going places now. Yeah, so it's a great and humbling pleasure being here.
Yeah. First thing first, how did you get the gig of hosting? Maybe briefly before we even go to that. Who is Javier? Briefly.
Thank you. Yes, I am Javier Silas Omagor, like you said, and I have won a couple of awards in the industry. I started straight after my high school in 2009. So it's been a long time, you understand?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, and I started my career at Faith Radio here in Mbale, and then I progressed into Step Radio, and then eventually Vision Group, where I am right now. And I have been very lucky that almost every station that I've been able to compete at national level, but also at international level. Either it is winning an award, recognition here, or a fellowship there. That's who I am. I was born and raised in Mbale town, but my parents originally come from a nearby district called Bukedia, just after Nakaloke. And of course, we are the speakers of parliament now. We all the people of Bukedia, we are all the speakers.
We're the number 3 of this country.
Yes, the number 3. Yeah, so I appreciate and recognize myself as both a Mugisu and a Muteso, given the fact that I was born and raised here in Mbale, and yes, my parents do come from Bukedia.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's the brief about Javier Silas. Javier,
yes.
First thing first, how did you come to host the big man?
Initially the plan, my plan and my expectations were not necessarily to host the president, interview the president, Yoweri Museveni, to Havurwa at that particular point.
Yes.
Or during this political period. Yeah. My plan was always to interview the president, an exclusive of the electioneering period, just a one-on-one. I always dreamt that as a young journalist growing up. I always dreamt that one day I want to sit down with the president, sit down with General Muhoozi and some of the other presidents across the region of the East African community.
Yeah.
And when we planned as Vision Group, when we were planning on how to cover the president in Eastern Uganda, in the northern Eastern Uganda, I chose a very rare area of coverage. I chose to cover the president ahead of time. Like if he's coming to Mbale tomorrow, I am in Mbale today. That means I'm not on the campaign trail. I don't move with the president. I don't cover the president when he comes there. I cover the president before he comes to that area by talking to the people and getting to understand what the people in that area want the president to speak to. That's what I write, so that in the morning when the president wakes up, because he's a big consumer of intelligence and also news. So I wanted to provide that platform where the president, every morning before he jumps on the chopper to fly to Bududa, to fly to Namisinda, to fly to Kapchorwa, opens the paper and reads what the people in that particular district expect him to speak to. And that's what I chose to do. And by so doing, at the very day that we hosted the president, and I was called to interview the president, I was done with the next district, the next area he was to go to. And so I had a training. I didn't mention that I'm also a media trainer. You must have seen or attended some of those training sessions. So I was in Jinja for a media training opportunity that was organized by the Editors Guild Council, Juliet Naiga of UBC and the team. We had Linda Chibombo, and the likes of I mean, so many people. Ayub was there with me, Kitunzi, Yahud was there with me of the Daily Monitor. And so all of a sudden a call came through, and it was Major Omara, and he was like, "We need you in Mbale now." I said, "No, I'm out of the region. I am very busy training journalists in Busoga, so I may not be in position to come." He said, "We need you in Mbale now." I said, what is it? Yes, what are you So I was like, I mean, what wrong have I done? Have you been covering the president? I said, yes, I've been covering the president. I sent him all the articles I'd published thus far. And he's like, now we need you now. I said, but I'm far.
What time was that?
It was around midday.
Whoa.
And so I was like, oh God, I'm not going to be in position to make it to Mbale and you know, be able to, because he had briefed me. Now the reason why we need you in Mbale is not for this or that. We want you to interview the president on behalf of your colleagues from Bugisu, then also give them opportunity to ask their own questions. And I was taken through the thrill. The briefing was done and on phone by Major Omara and SPS, Special Presidential Secretary, Press Secretary Walusimbi. And then I was like, oh God, what am I going to do? I had to communicate to my colleagues at the training. I had a session to handle before closure on the solution journalism and lexicons, hate speech, how the media can negotiate and navigate through that. Ooh, I had to postpone everything. I had to tell them that no, I have to go to Mbale now. It's an order. And I have to. Of course,
it wasn't a request.
Yes, and thankfully, and at that point, I was not sure of what to do next. And thankfully, Ayub of IUIU, formerly Uganda Radio Network, came with me. Said it's okay. I have to go with you. I can't leave you alone. So we hit the road, and calls kept coming from PPU and State House. Where are you now? Where are you now? Where are you now? And eventually, when I communicated to them saying that yes, I'm eventually in Mbale, they said, oh, now we can breathe. Now we can breathe.
I know that. Yes, pressure.
So I drove home, freshened up, and then hit the road to State Lodge, where we met. Did the clearance, did the routine of checks and stuff, screening, and then eventually I was in there.
Wow.
So no application, nothing like soliciting for the opportunity. I don't know which criteria they used, but they zeroed on me and they were very specific. They wanted me to pull it off.
Wow. It was a
pleasure. It was a pleasure.
Surely. Because I don't know how we can even mention it, why that it was a lack or something. I don't know, because there was no criteria that you put in your application and what have you. So you can't really. Anyway, things happen. Things happen.
Yeah, they do.
So, in the course of the interview, of course, you moderated the entire press conference. Yes. In the course of the interview, because the entire press conference took almost 1.5 hours. I was there. But the only key issue that was, trending and still trending up to today is the Indian Ocean where did the Indian Ocean come in?
So thank you very much. The president was taking the media through the 7 contributions that the NRM is looking forward to in this campaign as they seek for another term of 5 years. And he says now we had about 9 of them, but now we have zeroed them to 7, and these are the key areas that we want. He started talking about peace, he talked about market, he talked about job creations and so many other things. And the 7th one was the integration of the East African community.
Yes.
And so that's why we charged him with the task of elaborating more on the integration of the East African community, because I thought we've always been integrated under the EAC umbrella, and the fact that now you don't even need a visa, you don't even need a visa to cross the passport. Even the passport you don't need, just the national ID to cross. I've checked it out. Recently I was traveling to Nairobi through Entebbe International Airport, and I intentionally didn't want to use my passport because I wanted to check it out if it works, and I was able to get on my flight to Nairobi, and also come back using my national ID, which I thought was already working. So I wanted the president to explain more on that, and he went on to explain the need for Uganda to have direct access to the sea, and he says that he brought that analogy of the building, the storage building. If you are on the flat and you are on the 4th floor, it does not mean that you don't own the compound. The compound belongs to all of us, either in the 7th floor, 8th floor, 9th floor, whichever floor you are. It doesn't guarantee ownership of the compound to only the people on the ground floor. Yes, and I think he made a very strong point in that. And his case is, we are up here, Kenya is down near the ocean. It does not mean that as a block of the East African community, only Kenya and Tanzania have the coastline. Because Uganda is said to be landlocked. And you explain again, saying that imagine my brother Salim Saleh is locked in a room, and then they tell me, and I'm very okay with it. Said no, I will stop whatever I'm doing and run and ensure that my brother is free.
Safe,
and ask him, why are you locked in the room, and try to make sure that he secures his freedom. So that's where it came from. And I was quite humbled personally. If you watched my body language during the interview, when he did mention about the fact that it belongs to him, because where is my ocean, that I'm entitled to that ocean, and then he mentioned in future we're going to have wars. At that point, I was quite, because I deployed during the interview. If you watch the technique I used, I was not very aggressive. I was not aggressive at all, because traditional journalists when the traditional journalists or talk show hosts or interviewers, when they have an opportunity to talk to the head of state, they most times are convinced that the only way you can pull it off is by being aggressive and being tough and try to make it like it's an argument. I didn't want to use that technique, because there's so many ways to kill a rat. Another way is you just being soft, and the source will open up and tell you things that are mouth-watering, like some of those revelations. I mean, it's not only the Indian Ocean that was trending. He also talked about the fridge, picking the 2 Kenyans, the experts in riot.
And also mentioned of the moon.
Yes, and the moon. and then there was another piece about the Kadodi. I want to steal it, to smuggle it, and take it to the East African community. There's so many. And then he also talked about the Bududa roads looking like swimming pools. So there's so many ways of opening up a source. And maybe when you ask me about which technique I use, I will be talking about that later. But yes, that is how I opened up the president to speak to the Indian Ocean, and I think he sent a very good message, because again, you also saw the reaction from within East Africa, but also outside East Africa, and I have since got calls from the BBC, Al Jazeera, CNN, VOA, and also national newspapers like The Independent, The New Vision, all of them calling me to ascertain if indeed the president said that, what triggered the president. The same question that you're asking, what triggered the president to say that? Because that was such a daring statement by President Yoweri Museveni, but he meant every piece of that statement. because this country indeed deserves to have direct access to the sea, so that at the end of the day we can have a defense mechanism, especially when it comes to maritime. We can have the economic and the defense mechanisms so that we can control ourselves, especially when it comes to the waters. Imagine we only have Lake Victoria, and there's not much that you can do to protect your citizens if you don't have access to the sea.
Let's talk about the interview itself. Having this interview done, and everyone had to go his or her own way, did it even cross your mind that it would trend like it trended, or you thought it as a normal interview? And what have you?
Yeah, thank you very much. I go back to my body language in the interview. I was all cheeky during the interview, could smile, could laugh, could giggle. But when the president mentioned about in future we're going to have wars, I switched, like my body language just switched. I was like, hey, what are you doing? Because you see, I felt like it was contradicting with the president's number 7 contribution as the NRM this time around, which is the integration of the East African community. So you can't be seeking to integrate East Africa if you're also proselytizing or prophesying about wars. So I froze. I was like, hey, what is that? And the reason I did that is because I knew that is a spark. But initially, the truth is I never expected it to trend that much. What I expected to trend in the interview is when he said, if you go back to play the interview, I actually laughed loud when he said that we picked some 2 Kenyans. Actually, the question I was asking him is to respond to the reaction of the young people in Tanzania to the re-election of Samia Suluhu Hassan, HE, the president of the United States of Tanzania, Republic of Tanzania. I wanted him to respond to that, and then he came back to Kenya. He said, you see, actually about that, these are enemies of Africa. And the other day they sent some 2 so-called experts in riots. We picked them. He said, we picked them just like this, and they're in the fridge. And I said, they are cooling. I went to the president to sort of like withdraw the word fridge, because when you mention the fridge and you're relating it to humans, people will assume they are dead, because it's only dead bodies that go to the fridge, because maybe you preserve them for a later burial date. And so I was like cooling, like in a cooler to mean sales. But he carried on, and I knew that was going to trend because it's touching the Gen Z. Know that they're going to pick it up and make it trend and stuff like that. And indeed, that's what happened at first. Immediately after the interview, the next day, the papers, the Standard, and all these kind of newspapers were writing about the fridge. And then all of a sudden, somebody like, wait a minute, when you follow the same interview, he makes even a more serious statement in regards to the sea. And then that one came later, and yes, it dominated the space up to now.
Wow. So yes, the thing trended because I think in the entire interview 1.5 hours, it is I think a clip of around 5 minutes at maximum, which is zeroing down to all of what was said. Even that would have benefited Ugandans and what have you. So they're only dwelling on these few things of in an ocean, fridge, blah blah. So basically, this is a personal question. What does it feel? How does it feel hosting a big person like him? Because I'm sure, yes, we are there, but we were interacting with him directly.
I think it was a humbling and a satisfying experience. First and foremost, it's always been my dream to interact with him. I've interviewed so many high-profile people, but none of them is as highly profiled as him. The latest, I think, before interviewing him was His Excellency Xavier, my namesake, the ambassador of France to Uganda, and. And the Vice President Jessica Pearl Rose Alupo and the likes. But the President Yoweri Museveni was always that dream. I've interviewed I mean, even the likes of Bobby Wine, interviewed Bobby Wine. And for some reason, whenever I interviewed these people, you were there. I interviewed Bobby Wine. I know you've forgotten. I interviewed Bobby Wine when we were in the hotel called Riders in Mukono.
Oh, yeah.
You remember?
Yes,
that day when he came to address the community. Yes.
When he was
young people.
For MPship.
Yes, when he was running. I think he was already in Parliament. And I did interview him. Yes, I did interview him on that occasion. So it's a pleasure that I have now equalized, because I'd interviewed the People Power president, and this was an opportunity to interview the NRM party chairman, who is also the president of the Republic of Uganda. So it was a humbling gesture, and I think for me, what really humbled me further is that he made statements that really are very, very thoughtful. And when you listen to them, when you look at him superficially on the basics, it may not make sense. But when you analyze President Museveni's statements during my interview, every one of them makes a lot of sense. And I know the Kenyans are not happy. Why does he want? He doesn't want to take the ocean. He's saying that we should have a direct access to the ocean. We can, that ocean is too big for us to share. That's what he's saying. And it can help Uganda. It can also help Kenya in one way or the other. Because you know what? If you are way to the water source in a community is through a neighbor's house. You have to go to the neighbor's home to access water. The day the neighbor is fighting with his wife and it's throwing pangas all over the place, you will not have water. You understand? But if you have your own way to the sea, even if the neighbor has issues with his home, your home will not be disrupted. Your home will run. Are you understanding from that perspective? Yes. And that example that he gave of the flood is also very legit. But I think to even reduce it further, to lower the comprehension so everyone can understand, is imagine you have water is the most key commodity that we need in our home states.
Sure.
Imagine your way to the water source is through a neighbor who one day wakes up. We're not saying that neighbors fight all the time, but it's also normal for people to disagree in their homes. So one day they disagree, and the transport is disrupted, and everything is disrupted. That means the other neighbor, who is very innocent, will have to suffer. Why? Because to access the key commodities that he needs, he has to go through this neighbor who is fighting, who is having a toxic situation or experience at that particular moment within his home. So that's what he was trying to say. So for me, I think that was quite humbling, and I'm glad I was in the middle of it.
Do you wish to have any other one-on-one apart from that you had with him?
The president?
Yep. Or that was
someone who's been very close to the president for a long period of time, a person that I list as one of my mentors, did text me, and he saw some pictures. I think you have those pictures as well. When the president, after the interview, after us taking photos, when he invited me to go to him, when he said, first word I take with my moderator, me alone with my moderator, and I think Isano of Nile Post did take that photo. I think you have that photo. And then later, after everyone was done, and the SG, I think the Right Honorable SG Richard Todd Wong and the team were asking journalists out of that particular site to allow another meeting take place. The president did beckon me, please come, and we had a private talk with the president. Some words that he was telling me, encouraging words, and appreciating the interview itself, and for some reason, and I have faced this question multiple times, he was again trying to ask, are you really from Mbale or you're from Kampala? And of course he did answer, I know I'm from Mbale. Yes, if anything, I'm from Kapchora. yes, and I get asked this question so much. So I wasn't surprised when the president asked that, and he didn't ask it once. He asked it on the microphone as well. I think when we were just taking a photo, he did ask, and you guys had to respond in a chorus in defense. No, he's from here. So I think he was excited by the interview, and there is a lot I want to share about the technique that I used in that interview that young journalists should learn.
Please go ahead.
So, I said earlier, there are two ways of interviewing. There is an aggressive way of interviewing a source, and this I think is very good for young journalists. And then there is a sandwich feedback of interviewing. Now, most times, when we watch all the renowned interviewers of high-profile people, they are always aggressive. Okay, sorry to use such names like Stephen Saka of the BBC, and Christian Amanpour and all the other ones of CNN. Most times than not, people use an aggressive manner where the source gets so angry with you, and wants to get out of the set, wants to get out of the studio.
Doesn't want to see your face.
Yes, and doesn't want to see your face the next morning, and hates any other invite from you to come for another interview, even if it's 5 years down the road.
The company, so.
Yes, and the likes, and people think that that really shows that you're a good journalist and you did your interview very well and you were spot on and stuff like that. It makes you tick all boxes. The fact is that it actually, you help somebody hide information that he would have willingly shared. But also, I'm not saying that that's a bad way of interviewing people. I'm saying, well, that is only one way of interviewing people. Another is the way I handled the interview with the president. Another is you, first and foremost, showing up, try as much as possible to be the smartest in the room. And that's what I did. Smart, intelligently, especially when you've studied your source.
Yep.
So from Jinja, when I was driving from Jinja up to here, I was studying. I've always studied President Museveni. Like, if I start talking with President Museveni, I could actually complete most of his statements. Like, when he ends in the middle and he wants me to pull it off, I would pull it off. And you notice that they would pull him again, and the next word is going to mention is this. The next word is going to mention is this. And that's as a result of understanding your source. I'm sure the introduction that you gave me here, showed that Javier, you've been with Javier, you've seen him from the trajectory when it started up, and that is the basics that you do when you are interviewing someone like President Yoweri Museveni. And it's witty, it's very brilliant, it's very intelligent. It's like he was born with the second intellect, so he's very brave. So you have to try as much as possible to match that or go a step higher. That's quite a difficult one, to go a step higher than a source like President Museveni, an interviewee like President Museveni, but you try to match that, at least be close there. And if he's going to talk about the history of elections in Uganda, you should be on the know.
Yep.
If you listen to the interview, I took him back when he started talking about the history of elections in Uganda and the kind of elections, political parties we've had in this country. I did mention that the first election was in Uganda was held in 1944. That gives the source trust in you, that, I have someone who indeed is also knowledgeable about what I'm talking. So the source opens further. And then also the gestures, the non-verbal gestures that you make to the source, that is the key. Non-verbal communication gestures that you communicate, that you transit to the source, make the source either open more or retrieve and turn into an introvert of sorts and try to hide more information. In that interview, I tried as much as possible to open the president, to be as elastic as possible, open the president and give the president space to dominate, so that he speaks out of his heart, like willingly and religiously. So he commits knowing that I got the right person in front of me. He can speak all the things. He knows what I mean. If you interviewing someone and you show them that you don't know a thing about what they are talking about, they are bound to refrain from divulging into details of the conversation. You get it? Because they know I'm actually wasting time. I'm talking to some. It's like when you're talking to a PhD holder, a master's degree holder, a bachelor's, and you're speaking to a P1 kid. The kind of quality of conversation you're going to pull off while talking to the two people is different.
Even the language itself.
Even the language itself. So that's exactly what I'm trying to communicate to the young journalists. Sometimes you don't have to be aggressive when you get an opportunity to speak to high-profile people like HE, the president, the likes of, you know, all these politicians that we have in the country, all these leaders, the technical leaders that we have in the country, and the celebrities, and you don't have to be aggressive to be called the best interviewer. There are so many ways to kill the rat. Another is you make sure that you provide a very good foundation to the interview, that the source from the word go begins to believe. If you listen to the introduction that I made about myself, it was to reach for the president first and foremost to be very comfortable that this is the right person I want to talk to. And I think when I say this, he knows what I mean, and stuff like that. So therefore, they are encouraged to open up and let it out, whatever was in their chest. And some of the things that the president said, I'm sorry to say it, but maybe we were not supposed to be said in that interview. But perhaps the environment and the atmosphere gave him a go ahead, like, no, let me share all these things. Yes.
Wow. Yeah, I think as we are winding up, what could be your message? Basically, what could be your last words?
I urge you, I want to talk, I'm a media trainer as well. So I want to urge you, young journalists, to seek knowledge. If you want to be the best in your game, always look forward to adding a skill to yourself. Always make sure that you're doing research. Be ready, because opportunities like this don't even give you time to prepare. I'm so lucky, and I don't say this in a braggadocious way. I'm so lucky, and on behalf of all of us, you inclusive, because you were there watching me physically interview the president. You see, we have to be ready at all times.
So important.
Yes, if they call you and say, there was no time to prepare. And I'm so lucky that that interview has trended. It's as if the president has had only one interview. I'm sorry to say that, but it's as if the president has only had one interview ever since he started this. And yet he's had interviews every 4 days. He's talking to different interviewers, different moderators. But it's a blessing. But also, I want to charge the young people, because I saw from the reaction, the quality of reaction, the feedback. I appreciate the feedback that interview got. But I noticed a section of it was emanating from the fact that we need to do more research. So when we are weighing in, as young people, when we are weighing in onto what the elders like the kind of society had that day is saying, we come from a knowledgeable point of view. You have an idea of what does it mean. You put the historical aspect and you contextualize and be able to pull off your argument based on the knowledge that you have attained doing research here and there, because that helps you. And you see, he didn't mean to harm Kenya. He didn't mean to jeopardize Uganda. He didn't mean to put the East African community on tenterhooks and sound scary, threaten violence. No, he just wanted to send a strong message about how best we can be organized as the East African community, but also Africa as a whole. And I'm not here to speak, to speak about or speak for President Yoweri Museveni. I'm just here to encourage, especially us, the young people, journalists or no journalists, try as much as possible to be on the right side of things. Do your research. So when you hear or when you see things, you don't reason from a superficial or a basic point of view. You reason from a deeper point of view, deep system thinking, that you have an idea of what actually that means when you analyze it, not just when you see it and then the excitement and then stuff like that. Yeah.
That is Javier Silas Omagor, the man himself who was behind the famous Indian Ocean interview, and I think it was rebranded to Indian Ocean interview because the fridge blah blah was all cocooned into the Indian Ocean. I think it was all poured in the Indian Ocean. So,
and the Kadodi,
and the Kadodi, everything that was spoken in that interview was all put and poured in Indian Ocean. So for those who haven't gotten...
It was all good and... Yeah.
So the man is here. He has the connections to Indian Ocean. For those who want plots there, those who want to be near waters. So the man is here. I'm with him.
Or those who want to contest.
And I saw actually...
I see MPs representing the Indian Ocean.
Ugandans are very quick and they are flexible.
Yeah.
I saw, I think, one university in Deje, one came up with
the campus.
Indian Ocean University, Indian Ocean campus, and the university had to put it to clear the air that we have nothing about any of that campus that is being circulated on social media. So I think, the president, I think, has tried as much as possible to ensure that his people are, entertained. That whenever he's talking to them, he has something to say to them that will keep them, entertained. I think I can use the word entertained. They don't get, because in most cases you find that Ugandans say that nowadays things of leadership, politics are boring. So for him, he makes sure that he chips in something which will keep them, which will keep his interviews or wordings catchy. And all that, and I think
it's a blessing.
So thoughtful of him.
It's a blessing. But don't forget, you can pull off any journalists, and you can pull off any interview, asking hard questions in a soft way and get even better answers. Definitely. You don't have to stick to the aggressive point, way of interviewing people. The way you interview your sources, like for example, is nice, and people get to open up. You don't have to be aggressive and sound disrespectful and stuff like that to get the best answers. No, you actually get wrong answers when you do that.
By the way,
or no answers at all.
By the way, and I think I got that wherever you host on your channel or on your station, whatever, you don't need to be hard. Yeah. Let it be normal, like any other normal conversation.
Yeah, that's when people open up and say things that they didn't even want to say.
I'm telling you. So that has been there for you. I think along the way we'll keep bringing him here and there to discuss about what is happening across the country, be it political, be it in our field of work, that is journalism. Because I mean, he's my colleague, he's my guy. So we can happen to come here and discuss a few things. Maybe the big man has said that not only Indian Ocean, we also have access to Atlantic Ocean. Why not? We come back here and discuss the same. So
on the moon.
That has been Avia.
I know people in the journalist space, and it is good I speak about it here, tried to create an impression that Uganda had said something to the effect that they need to access the sea by all means. Let me assure the naysayers that Uganda and Kenya are brothers and sisters, and we do not have time for negative engagement. Uganda is assured of the access to the sea through Kenya, and that is why we are not only extending the pipeline, we are also extending the road, and we are also extending the railway, because we believe that this region needs to move as one.